Welcome. We're so glad you're with us. Okay, it's 6:02. Dean Schwal, if it's okay with you, I'll kick us off.
Yeah, it'd be great. Thanks.
Terrific. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the UIC College of Education Dean's Forum. My name is Mirna Teresa Holton, and I'm proud to serve the College of Education as Director of Development. A few housekeeping items before we get started. All participants are muted. Please keep your cameras on if you're comfortable during this interactive session. And if you have questions or comments throughout, please write them in the chat box or in the Google document. You'll find the link in the chat. We'll get to as many as possible. This Dean's Forum is being recorded and will be made available on the College of Education's website. Finally, you will receive a brief survey by email a couple of days after the forum tonight. We encourage you to please let us know your thoughts. And now, allow me to introduce the Dean of the College of Education, Dr. Catrone Cheval.
Thank you, Miriam. I appreciate that. And great to see so many friends joining us. I see some friends from the past too, so grateful that you're here and wonderful to reconnect. Thank you for joining us for our seventh edition of the UIC College of Education Dean's Forum. We all know that your time is precious, and we're grateful that you're willing to spend time to learn more about what's happening at the College of Education and the amazing work of our faculty, our staff, our students, and how that's aligned with our mission, vision, values. So I typically share our mission, vision, values at all our Dean's Forums. We envision a world where education fosters human flourishing. We pursue that vision as we transform education to advance justice and liberation. And we live our values of hope, engagement, and justice as we prioritize our time, our talent, and our resources. You all know that UIC is unique in countless ways, and I have the privilege of working with amazing colleagues in the Department of Special Education. And tonight we're going to learn more about some new programs and initiatives that really model our mission, vision, values, and really serve as a national model for others to learn from. So tonight we're going to learn from our experts. First, we have Dr. Lisa Cushing, who is our Department Chair of Special Education, Professor Emily Gregori, who is coordinator of our ABA Master's Program and also director of the UIC CARES Clinic, Professor Rocco Catrone, and Dr. Elizabeth Cambray-Engstrom, who serves as a Post-Doctoral Fellow. I'll pose a series of questions for each of our guests, and we also want this to be interactive with the participants. So please feel free to either share your questions in the chat, or if you want it to be anonymous in the Google Doc and someone will read those. And we'll provide some time at the end for Q&A to interact with our presenters tonight. So to kick off, we're going to start with Lisa Cushing, who serves as our Department Chair of Special Education. And she took the lead on designing a new Bachelor of Science program in inclusive and special education. And we're currently recruiting our first cohort of first-year students that would begin in August of 26. And the application deadline is coming up March 1st. So we're hoping that you'll help us get the word out, and that we'll get more applications for this year and for the years in the future. So Lisa, I'd like to first ask you to tell us a little bit about your history at UIC and how designing this new bachelor's degree has energized you.
Thank you, Catherine, for this opportunity to showcase the fabulous programs in our department. Before joining UIC, I worked at several institutions, gaining diverse experience. After I arrived here, I had the opportunity to interact with and learn from other faculty in the college at UIC, as well as from the amazing students who came here to study. I quickly recognized that UIC was where I was going to devote my career. We have students who are the first in their families to go to college. We have students who have not always had high quality special education services or inclusive experiences in their communities and schools. I knew that I was going to be able to have a tremendous impact in Chicago and at this institution. Oftentimes, when we create programs in higher education, it is done by a subset of faculty members. This was not the case for the bachelor's program. The entire department and actually some faculty from other departments contributed to its development. We worked together to create an innovative program based on what students need to learn today and what they will need to learn in 10 years. The outcome of our efforts is a program with a UIC signature, clearly aligned with the college's mission to support students with disabilities and their families from under-resourced communities in Chicago. I've been here for 20 years, and this is an exciting time for me and our department as we are experiencing significant growth in our programs, all of which align with the college's mission. We understand that what we do matters, that our work is important, and I believe that these initiatives will help increase the number of high-quality special educators and related service personnel needed to support the communities that require them the most.
Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate that background. Can you give a little help us understand what motivated you in terms of how you thought about this differently? What makes this unique from other programs? I was also looking at some disturbing data that special education programs themselves, there's been a reduction in the state of Illinois in programs that are offered. So here we're expanding because of the need, but what makes this unique?
Yeah, thank you. What makes it unique is what kind of motivated me. So I'm going to just kind of combine the three together. So first, the program is centered on core values of inclusion, self-determination, student and family advocacy, and voice. This is the only program in the state that uses inclusive in the title. And inclusion means ensuring that students with disabilities are educated alongside their same age peers without disabilities. It means being able to attend the same school as your brother and sister without a disability. So we know that about 96% of students with disabilities attend general education courses at some point of the school day. Therefore, it's critical that we provide our future educators with the knowledge and skills to support the students with disabilities in those settings, as well as the other contexts. Furthermore, providing students with the skills to determine and advocate for themselves is a key predictor of success as an adult. Beginning with the first class that they take, students learn about the concepts, the values, and the effective practices. And these concepts and practices are infused throughout all of our courses. It just builds and builds. The other big piece here that I think is pretty exciting is that not only do students come away with a professional educator license, a PEL, with the special ed endorsement, the LBS-1, we have provided space in their curriculum for them to take an additional general ed endorsement. There are around 15 different options and it goes across grade levels from elementary to high school, as well as bilingual education. This secondary endorsement only helps to enhance their employability once they graduate. And then the last big thing that I think is unique is that we intentionally provide multiple opportunities for students to practice what they're learning in their classes with students with disabilities across various grade levels and disability categories through their fieldwork experiences and student teaching. While in schools, they will be supported by both general education teachers and special education teachers.
Great, thanks, Lisa. I know that probably everyone on, in the session tonight knows that they've read news articles about the shortages in special education teachers for several decades now. And I know there's also the national data in terms of rural communities, for example, especially. But Chicago can't be facing a shortage of special ed teachers. Is that correct?
No. So there's a persistent shortage of special education teachers, and this has been going on for the last 30 years. It has impacted regions differently, and yes, you're correct. Rural regions are significantly impacted, but so are urban. So in Illinois last year, there were 4,000 unfilled teacher positions. Over a third of those positions were for special educators. Then when we tie CPS, Chicago Public Schools, with that, there were 360 unfilled positions. And these were in areas of bilingual special ed and or for special educators that really work with students with the most complex needs. So that's about 25% of the entire state unfilled positions are in CPS. And
How would you say our alumni base and our friends can help us recruit for this program? Because obviously the need is great. How do we? And I know the students that I interact with that have been in special ed, a lot of times they've been motivated or passionate because of a family member or a neighbor, or lots of different reasons. But a lot of times that comes out in their story. But how can our alums really help us with promoting the fact that this new program exists at UIC?
yeah, thank you for that question. First, one of the things, it's important to recognize that most graduates will return to their communities. So for us, it's really imperative that we recruit individuals from the Chicago land area so that they can go back and support the students with disabilities there. Some of the things that, the main thing right now, because it's such a new program, is help spread the word. We have flyers. We will be hosting information sessions. Share those with, counselors, school staff, administrators, parents, potential students, everyone. And if you're able, post it on social media.
Great suggestions. Please do that for us. So thank you, Lisa. We'll come back in a little bit to talk some more with you. I'd now like to introduce Dr. Elizabeth Cambray-Engstrom. And Elizabeth has been at UIC for almost 30 years. She's a triple alum of the College of Education. She has served as an educator, as a researcher, and a program coordinator. And Elizabeth, Lisa just shared about the development of the bachelor's degree, and you've been working on a federally funded grant to include the option for students in the program also to to develop a specialized expertise in early childhood special education. So can you start by explaining why this additional approval is important?
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. Hello, UIC friends and family. So this approval matters because there is a growing gap between belief and preparation. What I mean by that is that we're seeing early childhood teachers who really do believe in inclusion, but in the inclusive setting, they're kind of surviving and not thriving. They're coming to UIC years into their careers, and I'm talking 10, 15, sometimes 20 years, and they're asking us for tools they never received. This new pathway is going to ensure that new teachers graduate and that they're ready and that they have the skill set that they need to be successful. And it's not only needed, I think, among our teachers, it's also needed in our community. 1 in 6 children have a developmental delay or disability. And early childhood classrooms, as we know, are often the first place those needs are noticed. And so we need to make sure that our grads are prepared for this. And doing an early child special ed preparation at UIC is going to be an amazing way to do this. In the past, this was only limited to grad students, and those courses are always full. So the workforce and our communities are telling us clearly that we need this preparation. And so by offering this path, we're closing gaps before they become crises. And truly believe that inclusion isn't just a philosophy, it's a skill set. And this is going to help prepare our teachers for that. So they can walk into classrooms ready to support all children early when it matters the most.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Elizabeth. Can you give us some examples of what students will learn in these, what they learn in these courses, and what makes it unique?
Absolutely, I'd love to. So, of course, I'm biased, right? But what makes this program absolutely unique and excellent is that it's going to prepare students for the real moments that they face in urban early childhood settings. Our early child special ed graduates are going to learn to recognize, assess, and address developmental needs, but they're also going to learn how to support their students and how to support their peers, their fellow teachers in the long gap between concern and services, because that's a hard time. Students are going to learn how to design inclusive early childhood environments intentionally. So we're not just talking about inclusive lesson plans, but inclusive classroom environments, because as you heard from Lisa, that's so very important. You know, research shows inclusive education improves outcomes for all children. So this is really what we want and what we want to prepare our students for. Another cornerstone of the program that I'll share, I won't go on forever, I promise, is that, is one that sits at the heart of my personal and professional life. And that is that our students are going to be prepared to collaborate with families and community. Family and community partnership is so key because we know that when we collaborate with families, our outcomes improve, not just for one child, but for entire communities. When we support the family of one child, we also support their siblings, their extended family, their neighbors, and even strangers, because informed families often become mentors in their communities. So for me, this pathway isn't just going to prepare teachers, it's going to prepare educators who are going to improve systems. And in my opinion, that's how we're going to make lasting change out there. And so I'm very excited, if you could tell.
There's no one more passionate at UIC about families and communities than Elizabeth. She's amazing. Her enthusiasm and dedication to families is contagious. And just it really shines through in the college. So I'm glad you're part of our team, Elizabeth. Thank you. So now I'd like to turn to Professor Rocco Catrone. Rocco, you know what? When I see your email, you have all these letters behind your name and all these degrees and certifications. So first, just talk a little bit about yourself and what are all those letters and what they stand for, so people understand the expertise you bring to all this program development.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hi everybody. I'm Rocco Catrone. I'm also a Chicago native, and I'm an individual with disabilities myself who has had 504 and IEP plans throughout my career. So, this is a special interest to me. The word soup after my name, not just because I'm Italian and I like food, but it's the BCBA is a board certified behavior analyst, which we're going to talk about some of our programs here today. The IBA is International Behavior Analyst, meaning that I can practice internationally, and I do in Sicily, Central Italy, South Asia, and Iran. And then the CPAC is an accessibility certification, basically meaning that I take digital accessibility and inclusive environments, universal design for learning, and implement that in everything I do and try to teach other people to do the same thing.
No, thanks for explaining that. And Rocco is leading our way in the college to make sure that we're in compliance with all the digital accessibility and the new federal regulations that kick in April of this year. So on helping our faculty and our staff make sure all their courses are digitally accessible. So we're not going to talk about that tonight, but another expertise that you're helping us with here in the college. So so far we've been talking about future College of Ed undergraduate programs, College of Ed students getting their degrees in special education. But there's another effort that you're leading that will provide opportunities for undergraduates across the UIC campus to develop expertise through an undergraduate minor in inclusive behavioral analysis. So you're leading that effort. It's funded by the U.S. Department of Education. So can you start by telling us, a little bit about yourself, anything else you want to share, and why this minor in inclusive behavioral analysis will be transformational here for UIC and for those that that pursue that minor and then apply it in their future jobs.
Absolutely. So one thing that I did want to highlight is many of us are dually trained. So we have other certifications, early intervention, special education considerations. I myself am a rehabilitation psychologist who also does behavior analytic work. So that cross training really creates this whole professional that can approach things in a variety of different ways. And that's something that we're trying to implement into the way we build our programs as well. So that inclusion piece just doesn't mean that there's one direction that is the correct one. It is a direction that you work collaboratively with people in that person's environment in the way that that person wants to be serviced and access those resources. So with this minor, it's going to be a sequence of 5 courses. At the end of it, they should be able to sit, pending getting their community hours and internship hours as well, which is about 1,000 hours. It's pretty intensive. But through those experiences and the coursework, they can sit for a board certified assistant behavior analyst. So kind of like the one step below where I'm at right now. And what's so powerful about this is what we're teaching, it's not one specific style of therapy. It's not one specific style of behavioral approach. It's looking at the environment, what types of variables, things in the environment, people, light, sounds, food, built spaces, make behavior go. How does this continue? How does behavior stop? And so on. So that can be applied in a bunch of different spaces in psychology, in public health, pre-med, disability studies, business, really trying to understand the factors that make humans behave in a particular way and how do we create those environments of success while working with the communities we have to create more inclusive, safe places to live, essentially.
Wow, that's exciting. Um, so you mentioned like public health. Why would someone, a student majoring in public health, want to get this minor added onto their degree? What argument would you make or sales pitch?
Absolutely. So I have a few for you, but I'll give you the elevator pitch version. So within public health, there's a lot of epidemiological considerations, basically meaning that they're also looking for different factors that affect behavior, access to resources, and how do communities become healthier in the way that they define. With behavior analysis, this amplifies that. It's taking this technology of behavior and assessment and observation and data collection to really see those intersecting factors between key stakeholders, policies, laws, community leaders, education centers, and how can we create more access to health-related activities, health-related programs, and really get that word out there.
So that's making me think that someone that's already out in the field that has an undergraduate degree might want to come back and take these classes. Is that allowed, or is this only for undergraduates?
They absolutely can come back and take these classes. And I mean, what's great about this course sequence, though, is even if they came back just for the classes, as long as they have a bachelor's degree, these 5 classes and their hours, they can still get the certification as well.
Okay, okay. And so what makes this program unique?
Absolutely. So, one, there are very, very few undergraduate degrees or programs in behavior analysis specifically in the state of Illinois, and this will be really the only one in the Chicagoland area. The other component of this is we really focus on this idea of disability justice and disability critical race theory, looking at how are all these intersecting identities affect the way someone behaves. We can't just focus on one aspect of how a person views themselves or the hat that they wear. A person is a very complex human with many different hats, what they look like, what community they're in, how they act. Are they impaired? Do they have an identity component associated with that? So this program really, really highlights that in a way that frankly is not done across many programs in the country. So I think this is very, very unique what we're trying to do in Chicago, and especially for being a giant city, that this is the place to do it.
Yeah. Some people might not be familiar with the term disability justice. How would you explain that?
Yeah, so disability justice as a concept has a variety of different tenets to understand how disability affects someone's life and how disability is viewed within a society. So, what kind of sustainability considerations are there? Is there commitment to cross-disability solidarity and community building? Is there collective access to resources? Basically, how does someone's impairment create a identity for themselves? What does disability actually look like? How do we define this? And in many cases, it's from a social context and not necessarily how someone is biologically built. And what we really try to do with that is centering the person who is receiving those services as the main person and decider in how those services are rendered. Not what we think, we can think all the things, but it's about them and what they want to live a life that they would like to lead. So how do we kind of requisition that between the services they receive and what they want?
Thank you. Well, Rocco, I'm so glad that you've joined our team and that you're enhancing the work that we do here in the college. So thank you very much. This diagram shows all three of the new undergraduate development efforts that we've been talking about. Just to give you a sense, there's the overall bachelor's, and then these additional, either the minors offered for people outside of the college, or those that are actually getting their bachelor's in getting this degree at the bachelor's level can also get that add-on for early childhood special education approval. So now I'd like to change gears to more those that already have a bachelor's degree that might be at the master's level. So in fall of 24 was the first cohort that was admitted for a program that Professor Emily Gregori took the lead on designing, and that's our Master of Science in Applied Behavior Analysis, Disability, and Diversity in Urban Society. I have to say it's one of the longer titles for a degree program. But in fall of 24, we had 13 students that started in that inaugural cohort. And then in fall of 25, this past fall, we had 39. So we had a 200% increase in just that second cohort. So Emily serves as the coordinator of the ABA program. And Emily, some people may not be familiar with these terms, ABA degree program or BCBA jobs. So can you give us a little background on what these terms mean?
Absolutely. And thank you so much for giving us a few minutes to highlight some of the work that we're doing in the master's program. So applied behavior analysis, or ABA, is a discipline that's really focused on helping individuals improve their behavior across different domains like academics, communication, adaptive functioning, socialization, and employment. And we use really personalized, individualized, and person-centered interventions and approaches to help people meet their unique goals. So often in applied behavior analysis, you'll see us helping young children with autism and developmental delays learn to communicate before they develop vocal speech. And as Rocco alluded to earlier, ABA can really be used for anyone, but it's most commonly used for young children and adolescents with autism and developmental disabilities. And the individuals who practice ABA are known as board certified behavior analysts, or BCBAs. And we have one of the few programs in the Chicagoland area that's focused on preparing BCBAs to work in the city and beyond.
Thanks, Emily. So can you give a sense of what students learn in this program and the jobs they might take when they graduate?
Yes, so our program is really unique for a couple of different reasons. The main reason why this program is so unique is because we're preparing BCBAs to work in high-need urban contexts with individuals who have been historically overlooked in the field. So adults with developmental disabilities and young children with autism and developmental delays who are from culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds. So throughout the program, students take a variety of courses that are focused on evidence-based interventions and assessments that can be adapted for these special populations. Another reason why our program is so unique is because of our diverse student body. They're coming from really different backgrounds. So from ABA, special education, school psychology, and even neuroscience. So our classrooms are really exciting and vibrant places where students are learning from each other's expertise, which creates a really unique and strengths-based learning environment. And when our students graduate, which will be very sad to see their first cohort go, but they will sit for their BCBA exam, which will allow them to practice ABA. And once they're certified, they can practice in a variety of different settings, so including autism clinics, public schools, hospitals, and even the justice sector. So the kind of breadth and diversity of job opportunities really shows the power of ABA. And a recent survey showed that Illinois actually ranks 5th in terms of need for BCBAs. So our students are going to have no shortage of opportunities for employment.
Yeah, one of the pieces of data I was looking at, one of the reports was the number of jobs and the exponential growth of jobs for these positions in Illinois. And, you know, I don't know, I don't know when this kind of started, this field started, or these jobs began opening up, but it seems like the graph is just going like this.
Yes, the number of certificates is increasing rapidly every year. And so the number of job opportunities is also increasing really, really quickly. So there was definitely an urgent need for us to start preparing BCBAs to work in these unique contexts.
And I understand there's you have to put in a lot of time to, so what's the number of hours that you're in like a field internship or something for this?
Yeah, so in addition to their coursework, students also have to accrue a certain number of supervised fieldwork hours. And so it's actually 2,000 hours that students
Wow.
have to accrue. So it's quite the commitment. And so
Yeah.
our students, in addition to taking their courses, are also working full time. A lot of them in autism clinics where they're accruing those fieldwork hours and working really, really hard towards getting that certification.
Yeah. But that, I mean, I think the 2,000 hours really conveys the expertise that's needed to do these jobs.
Absolutely.
So that's it's good in that sense. So I know that, your leadership in launching, designing, running all these efforts, Emily, has been just been tremendous, and you're going to have this impact and this legacy here in the Chicago area. So thank you for all the work that you're doing, and I don't think you sleep, so much appreciated. Rocco, I'm going to go back to you because you're working on an effort that's related to this. So a subset of the students that are in the ABA program that Emily was describing, they want to specialize in early childhood. And so I understand you have 8 students in the first cohort for the Advocates for Behavioral Change program, or what you finally referred to as ABC, and that you're currently recruiting for your second cohort for fall of 27. So tell us a little bit about ABC, what it entails, and why it's important.
Absolutely. So this program actually fits on top of the program that Emily just talked about, sorry, that Dr. Gregory just talked about. So within this, over 2 summers, they take 4 courses, so 2 courses per summer in early intervention, while also doing an internship in local area schools to really focus on that early childhood component. But the thing that really makes this particular program stand out is at the end of it, not only will they be able to sit for their board certified behavior analysis exam, which is what Emily and I have, they will also be able to sit for their early intervention credentials. So this is something that is very, very important in the state of Illinois, but broadly, to have people that are dually trained. So this theme kind of keeps coming back up in a lot of our programs to be able to work with state-funded programs around early intervention in schools, in homes, in clinic settings, and so on. So this program really is training these next 2 cohorts and beyond how to do that in an effective and inclusive way.
So would you suggest that our alumni should be recruiting, advocating for this program? I would say that, really advocating for teams like this that include this kind of specialized expertise.
Absolutely. I think having people that have all these multiple ways of being trained and outlooks on this become better collaborators, and that's really embedded in all of the coursework that we do throughout this entire department in every program. How do we create this community and environment of success for the people that we serve? And especially within a behavior analytic context, having people that are BCBAs and early intervention credential, it's fantastic. It's something that we need way more of.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Thank you. So this slide summarizes at the master's level, we've been talking about the box in red there that Emily was sharing, and then ABC in the middle is the program that Rocco was referring to. This is added on to other efforts that are already started, so I want to give you a general sense of that. And then the next slide kind of puts it all together and shows, the bachelor's is that left-hand column, and on the right-hand side, we've been talking about those programs. But Lisa, I know in the middle there we have the program, the master's program in special ed we've had for a long time. But I know that Chrissy Brown, Dr. Chrissy Brown has been leading that paraprofessional special ed. Can you just give a little sense of that program? Because I know that's funded by the state of Illinois.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. The program is grant funded, like you just said, by the state of Illinois, and it is a pathway for paraprofessionals or SICAs. Those are assistant special education assistants to come back to school and earn their professional educator license and the LBS 1 endorsement, so to become a special educator. They do not get a master's degree. It's only 22 credits. But the really awesome thing about this is they're allowed to stay where they're at, so they don't have to leave, like for student teaching and teach somewhere else. So they get to remain employed as they continue to work. And all the classes are online and at night. The first cohort, there were 19 students that were accepted, and there were over 250 applications for this.
That's just
Yeah.
really incredible. And I know when those all came in and Chrissy had to review all of them to select 19, what an impossible job when you've got that kind of demand. So hopefully there'll be continued funding for efforts like that, because obviously the need and demand is there. Well, I want to thank all our presenters for sharing about the new programs, and I'm going to pose a question to each of them to dream big a little bit. So if you had significant resources to establish your legacy at UIC, what would support your dreams? And Lisa, I'm going to have you kick that off.
Sure. So dreaming big. Well, as you can tell, our faculty are fabulous. They're doing so much with what they have, and we're the smallest department in the college. So I guess my dream would be to establish the College of Education's first endowed chair in special education. This type of position would enable us to recruit specific expertise and experience that would enhance our programs and research. Over a career of a faculty member, for one faculty member, they can support between 300 and 600 special educators. So, and then in turn, that special educator can support between 200 to 600 students with disabilities. So, the impact of each hire is so incredibly huge.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And just so everyone knows, Lisa's in my office all the time asking, how can we get more faculty? So she is the biggest advocate for her department, and well deserved. So thanks for that response, Lisa. Okay, Emily, off to you. Dream big. What is it?
Okay, well, I really think the foundation of these innovative programs and initiatives is the cutting edge research that all of the faculty in the department are conducting. And in order to conduct that research, we need a lot of human power, which is hard to come by sometimes. So having resources to support graduate research assistants to be able to enable us to do this work would just be a tremendous asset to the department.
So I understand that you direct the UIC Cares Clinic, and
Yes.
you have a wait list of how many families right
Close
now
to 200 families.
are on the wait list. So like hiring one graduate assistant, let's say for a year, how would that put a dent in your wait list?
We could probably reduce the wait list by about 25% with just one
One
graduate
graduate
assistant.
student. Yeah.
Yes.
So, okay, I appreciate that. And again, your leadership there with UIC Cares has been tremendous. And in the past, the way that Emily talked to me about it is we might have done assessments with students, but the dream of the clinic is to also provide the resources for individuals and for their families. So, and Emily's team has been doing telehealth work in that space, and doing some really interesting work with those that are associated with the clinic. So thank you, Emily. All right, that takes us to Elizabeth. I have a feeling I know what Elizabeth's going to be because, as we've already noted, she is passionate about students and families. All right, off to you, Elizabeth.
All right, how did you know? Yeah, as the daughter of immigrants, as a first generation high school and college grad, as a person who was a working parent going through most of her education, no surprise, I'm going to ask for scholarship money. I think scholarship money, big and small, it doesn't matter, I think, to help students complete their program without having to take any pauses or, experience hardships. For me, access isn't just about getting students in the door. It's about making sure they can stay and get through the programs. And, I think scholarship would allow us to help those first undergrads, those parents, those grandparents, because we've had grandparents in my classes, working professionals, and all our students to complete our program without them having to take a pause, without them having to worry or be overburdened. So ultimately, that's my ask. That's my dream big is scholarship money to support students so we can strengthen that, their preparation and strengthen families and communities.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Elizabeth. And again, she is in my office asking for money for students all the time. She's so passionate about students and communities. I think what you talked about with the adult learners, this year we've had 2 undergraduates in their 80s. So again, it just makes UIC so unique. Our students come from such different backgrounds, experiences, and expertise that they bring here. I would like to take a minute to recognize and to thank one of our alums. Special thank you to Pat Cronin-Grossman, who established a named scholarship recently, and this past year we were able to give the inaugural recipient was Miranda Young, and this semester we'll be announcing the second recipient of that scholarship. Pat has 2 degrees from UIC, one BA, a bachelor's in art education, and a master's in special education. She was a special education teacher for over 20 years in San Francisco. And she recently established 2 scholarships at UIC, the Cronin-Grossman Scholarship in Special Education and the Cronin-Grossman Scholarship in Art Education. So the way that she's honoring both fields that she has degrees from. So Pat, we're so grateful for your support for our education students here at UIC. I will add that, a lot of times people don't know about the hidden costs associated with these certification programs. There's background checks, there's the transportation costs to field sites, there's the exam fees or the state content tests, and these can really add up for special educators. So it isn't just the tuition and fees, there's all these other costs associated with pursuing their education. So these are really essential scholarships for our students here at UIC. And at the undergraduate level, I don't know if most people know this, but we have the highest percentage of Pell Grant eligible students on the UIC campus in the college. And for our incoming class in the fall was 78% were Pell Grant eligible. So it just gives you a sense, campus was in the 54%, somewhere in there, but we're at 78. So there's a lot of financial need in the College of Education. So, all right, that takes us, Pat, thank you so much. And we're going off to Rocco now to dream big. So Rocco, what would your dream be?
Yeah, so building the capacity of the CARES Clinic and the community partnerships that we have. So we recently had a partnership with UI Health in an inpatient unit. We're working closely with ARCAD for community resource sharing. There's a grant that Dr. Cambray-Engstrom and I are working on right now where we're servicing Latine families who do not have services or do not have access to direct services now. So having extra people, having resources to maybe cover daycare while individuals are getting services with us, to cover parking, all of those things cost money to be able to do these things. And if we have extra people power and being able to build this out more, we can really just model excellence for the community at large and for other programs across the country and really do this good work and continue to maintain to do this and not be dependent on government grants to be able to keep it going.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Rocco. And for the Latin Aid project, where are you servicing families for that particular grant?
So it's a Chicagoland area, and I'll put in the chat box here. So we just put together a website. It's part resource sharing, and we're building out a lot of clinical resources that will be both in English and Spanish. So we have lots of openings right now to be able to do this.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Appreciate that. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you all so much. What an inspiring evening. I'm so grateful to learn so much about what's happening. So thank you all for sharing. And Dean Cheval, Dr. Cushing, Dr. Catrone, Dr. Cambray-Engstrom, and Dr. Gregori, you are awesome. Let's just take a minute and give you some love. And it's time for questions now from our friends, alums, champions, and they can be directed to Dean Cheval or any of our featured guests. Please add your questions to the chat or to the Google Doc that's in the chat, and we'll go through as many as possible. Have I been muted this whole time? No.
No, we heard you.
Okay, there's a question in the Google chat. Dean Cheval, this one's for you. If you were to dream big, what would you envision as your legacy of impact?
Ah, well, that's a hard question. I didn't think about that. I just ask the questions. I don't think about answering them. I think as dean, I want to create the conditions for people to do, the work that they're so passionate about. And, I've worked at universities that have a lot of resources. And I knew that, I could be a dean at a university with a lot of resources. And could I bring in more resources here for the faculty that are just so committed to the students we serve, to communities, to families. So I think the legacy for me is, can I, establish a foundation where people want to give to this college? And if I can do that, then that will continue after I leave. And that's what, as a dean, that's what you always think about. It isn't what you do while you're here; it's what's going to happen after you leave. And I would say that is it. I think it was very clear that we need more people. They all answered it in different ways, but we all need more people. We need more people, that work here, but we also need more people out in the field that are doing this work. So, but thanks for posing that question. I hadn't given that one any thought. So,
thank you. And so I have another question. Alums, as an alum, how can I get involved?
I'll start with my special ed colleagues who'd want to answer that one. How would you suggest the alums get involved?
I think Dr. Cushing brought this up earlier, but so many of our programs and initiatives are brand new. And so helping us spread the word, whether it's, via social media, via your connections with schools and different community agencies, but letting people know that we're here and we're doing this good work would, I think, have a tremendous impact for all of these programs.
Yeah, so I think, if you're not following us on LinkedIn, or any of the social media, I don't know some people don't do social media, but if you're on LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter, and you can, share what the college is sharing. It's even, some of these programs where all the tuition's paid for. And so how do we get the word out that people can get these degrees when these grants come in? So it's sharing it with the local counselors where you're nearby or at the school. So it's just word of mouth a lot of times. We have students that need mentoring. I have someone that's volunteering their time to help our students get ready for our May graduates interview for jobs and to look at their resumes and just sit down and talk to them about their careers. And sometimes that's, here in the college, sometimes it's on Zoom, but but there's a huge need there where some of our students just need somebody to talk to, and they haven't necessarily have a circle that can look at a resume and give them some feedback on how they can make it stronger, how they can practice an interview question. We all know how scary interviews are, so the more practice they can get there, the better.
And I'll jump in. Sorry, I'm going to jump in real quick and say,
Yes.
adding to that, I know I asked to give funds, right, for scholarships, but also the time that, like Dean Cheval is saying, we have alum in the room right now who have given their time to write letters of support for our grant applications, to sit on committees for programs that we are developing. And so, if you're willing and able to, we would love to hear from you, and, we'll find a way to take your time and take your expertise and incorporate it.
Thank you. That's terrific. I just want to call out some love to folks who are leaving comments and questions in our chat box. Has the SPED department, this is from Diana Rasso Jimenez, considered using a recommendation model as some programs at the Urbana campus has adopted to build interest? I recommend principal candidates all the time as an alum of their leadership program.
Well, that's a great idea.
That's why we talk to our alumni.
That's right. Well, and we do try and, we ask everyone that we know, everyone that, we'll send out just information to our past graduates. But yeah, I mean, just that recommendation. Absolutely.
And they're,
Thank you.
sorry, Dr. Cushing, they're really happy. I mean, as a school leader and admin leader, whenever my name was attached to recommendation, it acknowledged their proficiency.
Right.
And then they're also like an additional a value add to their talent. So they're really happy to get those emails from Urbana. UIC is always word of mouth by me, but I'd love to
Yeah.
formalize something.
Hey, Diana, you can help.
I always shout you out. I always shout you out. I've been employed for 16 years because of UIC. So yes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for your questions and your brilliance and your comments. We're almost at time, so I would like to turn it over to Dean Cheval for her final thoughts.
Yeah, thank you, Marina. I appreciate that. So I hope one of the takeaways from tonight is you recognize the exciting things that are happening and the amazing expertise that's in our Department of Special Education and the College of Education. And that exciting things are happening. We have dedicated professionals who work tirelessly, and their passion comes through literally every day. And I'd like to be a facilitator, as I said, in creating conditions so that they can have a bigger impact in Chicago and beyond. I think they're developing they're developing models that others need to learn from. And so, it isn't just about bringing students here to work with us, but also to strengthen the field of special education across the country. We are looking for partners. We're looking for people that want to invest in this work. You may know who those people are, and you can get us connected. That's another thing that alums can really help us with. So, if you know of others that are really passionate about disability justice, about inclusion, about special education, please get them connected with us. I would like to close with a few slides of just a few updates so that you're aware of some things that are going on in the college and at UIC. For some of you, you may be familiar that in fall of 25 was our first cohort that UIC brought in with the Aspire grant. And so this provides all tuition and fees for students of families that earn $75,000 or less. And so in fall of 24, that was the first year of doing this. That was 54% of the undergraduates were eligible that came here to UIC. And for first year students, they get 4 years of funding, and for transfer students, they get 2 years of funding. So for this next fall of 26, this is the second year we'll be doing it. So again, that is something really to highlight, that students should come here for if they're eligible for that. So again, campus was 54% eligible for that. College was much higher. So those are the students that we are attracting here in the College of Education. Another highlight is we're starting our first Give a Spark Day on March 4th. And so join UIC alumni, faculty, staff on that giving day for UIC. Every gift, no matter how big or how small, provides opportunity. So we hope you'll engage in that. And of course, the deans are always competitive. So I'll be doing a challenge grant for that day for matching funds. So join us in March 4th and follow along on Giving Day and see the gifts come in as we see how much comes in that day. If you're in the Los Angeles area or attending the AURA conference on April 9th, we'll be hosting our alumni reception. And we have a nice outdoor venue for that. And we have a limited number of slots, so they're filling up fast. So please register quickly if you'd like to join us in LA. We'd love to have you. And faculty in the college have been successful. There's been a lot of talk about federal funding and how there's less of it. But the faculty in the college have been successful with securing federal awards. And so I want to provide two examples. One is Professors Schachter and Lindstrom were successful for a U.S. Department of Education grant for $10 million called Words Illinois, and they will be accelerating reading development for children in pre-kindergarten through third grade and working in 160 Illinois schools. And then also Professors Giles and Podslialek were successful with a $1.4 million U.S. Department of Ed grant. And this is another one where all tuition and fees are paid. We only have funding for one cohort to get a master's degree for middle school teachers who teach social studies, civics, history, and they would have everything paid for tuition and fees. And that would start in this summer. And it's only one shot here, one chance, and the applications are due March 1st. So again, this is another way if you can promote that for middle school teachers in your areas that might be interested in that particular grant. And I just want to finish off by, again, thanking you for joining us tonight. I want to thank our presenters, just all their effort for years now that they've been putting in. To start a new program in the state of Illinois, it really does take years. You got to get approvals and you got to write the curriculum and get all, it's just a lot of time. And it's not like they have extra time to do that work. So they do it because of their dedication to, the people that they serve. So, and just like to close it off on that. So thank you all so much, and hope you'll join us in the fall for Dean's Forum number 8, Volume 8. And have a great night.
Thank you. Dean Shabal, you looks great.
Thank you, Sophina. You always make me feel good.
You looks younger.